It's great that you had a moment to reconnect with old friends and colleagues. We are quite a close community, and it's really wonderful to see so many of you in the room today, so many old friends that have worked on this topic for many years. So, welcome everyone to the Forest Monitoring South-South Knowledge Exchange, enhancing forest monitoring through global collaboration. It's an event of the Global Forest Observations Initiative, hosted by FAO and supported by the Agri-Forest Program. So, welcome to FAO, and welcome to Rome, the eternal city, we always like to say. It is a cold morning this morning, but the temperature is rising through the week. So we hope that the temperature is conducive to some touring around this beautiful city in the days to come. Okay, my name is Julian Fox. I'm the team leader of Forest Monitoring and Data Platforms here at FAO, and your host for this opening session. But I'll quickly identify some key individuals that you will get to know and have been integral to supporting this workshop. Firstly, Mr. Anssi Pekkarinen, the team leader of the Global Forest Resources Assessment. Thomas Harvey, of course, manager of GFOI. You all know him very well. Fiona Stringer, who's the main organizer of this wonderful event. And she always runs away and hides on me, but is Esther Phillips in the room? Always does that to me, but she is the person to find if you have administrative problems. But in fact, I would like to request everybody in maybe the forest monitoring team and the GFOI office team to stand up, because if you have any questions about anything, these are the people. So please make yourselves know. Oh, look, they're all at the back. We are your host this week, and we really want everyone to have a productive and enjoyable time with us. And there is a very high probability that at one point this week you will find yourself incredibly lost within this building. So if you recognize any of these people, or in fact, if you ask anybody around you, FAO staff are usually very friendly. They can help navigate you to where you need to be. So some logistics, we have, you see up in the booths up here, we have simultaneous interpretation in English, French, and Spanish. You will find an earpiece beneath your desk or in your armrest, somewhere in your vicinity. In case you want to follow the session in any other language than English, please use the earpiece. And in fact, for the best audio, I would suggest keeping your earpiece on all the time, because there are some spots in this room where the sound is not as strong as it could be. So this session will be webcast live on the FAO webcast channel, and we also have a Zoom room, which is very well attended at the moment. For any interventions from yourselves, please make sure to turn on the mic on your desk and when you're here in person. And if you're online, when we come to question and answer sessions, we would like you to raise your hand and ask questions. We want to make this a really inclusive and enjoyable event for everybody that's here and the online audience. So in this session, we will hear opening remarks. If I can get it to the next slide. There we go. Opening remarks from FAO management. Mr. Jimin Wu, the director of the Forestry Division. Mr. Wu would have loved to have joined us, but as you know, there are many events happening right now, different COPs, different high-level events, and he's unavailable, and it has sent a very nice video message. We will then hear welcoming remarks from Ms. Ellen Brasilius-Backer, and I'm sure I've said that incorrect, but that's okay, who is the Policy Director of Environmental Integrity from the Government of Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative, what we know as NICFI. Alan will welcome participants on behalf of the GFOI. Finally, we'll hear welcoming remarks from Ms. Maggie Charnley, Head of the International Forest Unit, a joint unit across the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero, working across the UK government for the delivery of international commitments to halt and reverse forest loss by 2030. So without further ado, can we cue the welcoming remarks from Mr. Wu, the Director of the Forestry Division, please.
Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm delighted to welcome you all to FAO and to this important event on enhancing forest monitoring and collaboration. I particularly welcome partners of the Global Forest Observation Initiative, the GFOI, an example of a successful partnership. This knowledge exchange is timely following the successful 27th session of the Committee on Forestry COFO last July, when FAO members endorsed the FAO Forestry Roadmap from Vision to Action 2024-2031. This week's event is one of the first major steps taken under the Forestry Roadmap, and it responds to two cross-cutting priority actions. The first is to advance technological innovation to improve forest-related data while ensuring transparency and inclusive capacity development for evidence-based analysis and decisions. The second is to support countries to drive innovations through partnerships, including South-South collaboration with a variety of stakeholders and increased use of knowledge exchange mechanisms that are accessible to all. Looking at your agenda for the week, I can see that together you will advance these two priority actions while also working towards other objectives. I'm pleased to see the innovative structure of the knowledge exchange with different stakeholders working simultaneously across three streams and then exchanging between streams throughout the week. This will maximize your efficiency. It will enable you to advance on technical forest monitoring topics, such as country-led planning, and new topics such as forest monitoring for transparent commodity value chains. It is encouraging to see freely available technological innovation in forest monitoring continuing to emerge, such as Open Forest WISP. This equitable and inclusive digital public good can help indigenous peoples and smallholder farmers maintain sustainable practices and demonstrate compliance with regulated markets, enabling them to maintain their livelihoods and contributing to the transformation of sustainable agri-food systems. This event is hosted by FAO as one of the GFOI's leading partners and host of the GFOI office. FAO is grateful to the government of Norway and the United Kingdom for their support for the GFOI's office and all the other GFOI partners in the room who enable global collaboration in forest monitoring. I'm also grateful for the financial contribution of the German Federal Enterprise for International Cooperation, GIZ, for the new project entitled Accelerating Innovative Monitoring for Forest and Commodities. This complements and strengthens existing financial and technical support on innovative forest monitoring under the $30 million project entitled Accelerating Innovative Monitoring for Forests program, which is funded by the United Kingdom. Among many other things, is supporting this week's event. I thank both GIZ and the United Kingdom for your trust in FAO and for your ongoing strong collaboration on forests. During this week, we will launch several new publications and knowledge products, such as a new transparent dashboard for measurement, reporting, and verification to track climate goals that ensure equitable and inclusive access to data and information. FAO is working hard to ensure inclusive capacity development and equal access to training, tools, technologies, and materials. For example, new multi-language e-learning courses and self-assessment tools will be launched this week as part of the efforts to ensure that no one is left behind. I look forward to learning about the outcomes you achieve this week, and I wish you every success in the South-South Knowledge Exchange. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu. Yeah, it's really exciting to hear that actually this gathering is one of the first major actions of the Forestry Division under our brand new forestry roadmap. And particularly the cross-cutting work on technology and innovation, as mentioned by Mr. Wu, continuing to advance innovations for improved forest-related data while ensuring transparency and equitable access is a real priority of the division. And the second is to employ South-South collaboration with a variety of stakeholders and increase the use of knowledge exchange mechanisms that are accessible to all. And I think the program this week satisfies both those priority actions. Mr. Wu also gave some hints on the program and some of the new projects and products that you will be exposed to, and we'll hear much more about those in the coming sessions. Now I would like to welcome Alan to speak on behalf of GFOI, and perhaps, Alan, some very brief reflections from COP29. Over to you, Alan, please. Oh, you can come here, please.
Thank you, Julian. Good morning, everybody. I hope you've all arrived safely in Rome and that you had a good night's rest, and that despite what Julian considers a cold morning, coming from the north, I'm not sure I agree to that, but I'm really looking forward to a good and productive week together. On behalf of the GFOI Leads Group, it is my pleasure to welcome you all here today. Many of you will already be familiar with GFOI and have indeed been in the same room at last year's GFOI plenary. For everyone else, the GFOI, the Global Forest Observations Initiative, is a partnership for coordinating international support in forest and carbon monitoring to meet tropical forest country needs. We know that effective action on climate change requires global collaboration. This is exactly what the GFOI seeks to foster in the forest and carbon monitoring community. And that's why we brought you all here together. We also know there is a growing need for countries to access better information on their forests and associated carbon resources to enable better management of these critical assets. The GFOI seeks to ensure that support from the international community is truly collaborative and delivered in an efficient and effective manner. The GFOI includes all major donors and development partners working in the field. There are representatives from nearly all of them in the room today. This includes our newest lead partner, the Green Climate Fund, the GCF. So I would like to extend our warm welcome to you, to the GFOI community. Welcome. But the key participants here today are the representatives from the 18 tropical forest countries. A very warm welcome to you. We look forward to productive discussions with you all of this week. And the GFOI is particularly pleased to welcome representatives from the 6 countries initially selected to command the GFOI's country-led planning process, what we call the CLP. Not that the world really needs more acronyms, but I think we still do get some. This, the country-led planning process, or the CLP, is a new initiative which takes a slightly different approach to other forms of international support that the GFOI partners have traditionally delivered. The CLP will help countries to consider their institutional and functional arrangements for sustaining their forest and carbon monitoring capabilities. Under the CLP, the countries are in charge, and the GFOI will support countries to progress through the CLP process, with the country in the lead. The country is responsible for designing the process, which is unique to their national circumstances and can be sustained by national institutions. This week, the CLP countries will gather for a South-South exchange to learn from one another about these critical challenges and opportunities. I am also pleased to represent the government of Norway on the GFOI Leads Group and in our cooperation with many of you in the room here today. Norway is the core donor for the GFOI office, which is hosted by the FAO. The office has played a key role in organizing this event, along with our other FAO colleagues. Thank you for your efforts and for convening us on such an exciting program. Norway recognizes the importance of technical capacity for forest monitoring as a core function for ensuring sustainable land use and forest policies. That is why we have emphasized this to the extent that we have in our work in our initiative. I'd like to underline that for us, solid institutions and transparency are also key parts of this work. And Norway is proud to support many, if not all countries, with technical assistance through global efforts such as the UN RED, the FAO CEPAL, and also through our satellite data program. So, in closing, I would like to thank the FAO and the GFOI office for hosting us here in Rome, as well as the UK as donors for the Aim for Forest programme, which has funded this event. I wish you all a productive and collaborative week, full of free and open and friendly exchanges. I hope to be part of discussions on how we as an international community can best work together to improve monitoring capabilities globally. Forests play a key role in responding to climate change, protecting biodiversity, and enabling sustainable development. And together, we can facilitate just that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. Really encouraging words, and thanks for the long time, probably the longest donor supporter of our forest monitoring community. So big thanks to you and to Norway. Finally, last but not least, we have some welcome remarks from Maggie Charnley, filmed at the COP, as you'll see, of the United Kingdom. Can we cue the welcoming remarks from Maggie Charnley, please?
Morning everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you to this South-South exchange on enhancing forest monitoring and collaboration at the FAO headquarters in Rome today, although as you can see I'm speaking to you from Baku at the COP29. In April 2023, the UK jointly with the FAO launched the new Accelerating Innovative Monitoring for Forests, or Aim for Forests programme, a £24.5 million 5-year global programme that aims to support forest monitoring based on modern monitoring technologies and technical innovation, the use of space data and remote sensing, as well as building technical capacity for forest countries and their communities. One of the main goals of Aim for Forests is in addressing the remaining technical and institutional gaps within forest monitoring, as well as embedding national forest monitoring systems, or NFMS, that are fit for purpose into national institutions, aligned with and benefiting national policies and processes. We hope the programme can act as a catalyst for countries to be able to embed their systems, reducing the need for donor support and intervention over time through the country-led planning process delivered by GFOI and FAO. As we see the increasing need for high integrity for carbon credits and emissions reductions, as well as development of newer standards such as art trees and emerging national standards, we see the relevance of Aim for Forest programming becoming even more prominent to ensure that countries can meet these requirements and are able to meaningfully and successfully access forest finance. This funding is part of the UK's commitment to doubling UK international climate finance a contribution to at least £11.6 billion between April 2021 and March 2026, including investing at least £3 billion of ICF in development solutions that protect and restore nature, such as this. These commitments have been reaffirmed at COP29 today by our Prime Minister, by our Secretary of State for the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, Ed Miliband, and by our Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, last week. Our commitment to supporting countries to successfully deliver on support for forests, for nature and for people is a key commitment of the International Forest Unit and of the UK Government. Since its launch, Aim for Forests has already developed 5 new innovative open-source technical solutions bridging access to data for forests, has supported over 6,000 people with e-learning and has trained over 1,200 individuals, nearly half of whom were women and including 100 Indigenous peoples. I'm delighted to hear that in this morning's session and throughout the rest of the week, we will be launching even more knowledge products, e-learning opportunities and technical solutions that are accessible to all. Over the past year and a half, Aim for Forests has worked in partnership with 13 forest countries, including many we will hear from today, like Uganda, Peru, Indonesia and Brazil, as well as others in the room and online, to advance skills, capabilities and knowledge, and foster innovative and sustainable approaches to managing forests and land. Governments are increasingly seeking to regulate trade to achieve legitimate environmental and social outcomes, starting with the EUDR. For this to be a success, policy coherence is critical. Market recognition of good practice depends on mutual understanding of what good practice is. We need to move forwards an international trading system that recognises farmers who are producing food and commodities in ways that are socially and environmentally positive, and that, more importantly, rewards them for this. The UK is proud to co-chair the FACT dialogue, a space that brings together 28 major producer and consumer countries for facilitated open dialogue. Now more than ever, it's critical to have trusted spaces for countries to openly discuss these complicated topics. We're delighted to see that events like these, the South-South exchanges, which are crucial in building a community of practice for countries to exchange experiences and build a network of experts, are an integral part of the Aim for Forests programme. We as donors are keen to hear feedback and to keep up the continued dialogue with countries with work packages, as well as other countries keen to continue development and implementation of efforts to preserve and restore their tropical forests. We're also keen for feedback and guidance from forest countries to be able to tailor and improve programming. Wishing all of you a fruitful week of exchanges and looking forward to hearing the outcomes and advances made during the week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maggie, for the support, and actually to the entire International Forest Unit for the wonderful collaboration, both financial and technical, under Aim for Forests. I will actually point out one more person. Svenja, please raise your hand, because I noticed that Maggie said, give us feedback, and we have Svenja here, who is the Program Manager for Aim for Forests. So if there's anything you see that during the week that you think deserves more attention or less attention, you can speak to Svenja. Thanks, Svenja. Okay, so after all those motivational words, you probably want to hear about what you'll be doing this week, and you must be feeling motivated and ready to go. I have a few slides, but in fact, we're going to revisit the agenda after lunch, so don't worry that you will not be able to capture all of this information. I mean, the agenda for today is pretty straightforward. It's really to set the scene, and really looking forward to a panel that will follow immediately after this one on the evolving context of national forest monitoring. You know, Maggie mentioned the demand-side measures for commodities, and there's a big role for forest monitoring there. Just on the weekend, Articles 6.2 and 6.4 were adopted under the UNFCCC. That's another emerging context that will have big implications on our work on forest monitoring. So this panel discussion will happen between 10:30 and midday. You'll also see some very important information at the bottom there, such as Wi-Fi codes, so please jot that down and get online. And then we have lunch. And for those participants that are supported through our programs, today only is the day you'll be able to collect your DSA. So please, you see the times here, and there's a cashier window at D202. If you need support to find that window, please ask any of us, and we can help guide you there, because that is a very important thing to do today. So lunch, we have an extended lunch to also include opportunities for people to get their DSA. And then we have, after lunch, we have some more sessions. We have an afternoon panel really looking at national forest monitoring systems and what Maggie and everybody's been mentioning. How can we really institutionalize these in government systems? So that is today. For the rest of the week, and again, as I mentioned, we'll revisit this after lunch, we will have 3 parallel sessions. So we're really trying to maximize our time together and have a really meaningful South-South exchange. The first session is actually divided more or less equally in participation, is on forest monitoring for transparent commodity value chains in the Austria room. The second is country-led planning for better forest monitoring in the Philippines room. And the third is forest monitoring for MRV in the Mexico room. These names will become second nature to you as the week evolves, and soon you'll be able to navigate to these rooms without worrying. We'll also have 2 global webinars to really take this opportunity to share information. We have one on really our e-learning courses on Tuesday, and we have one on self-assessment tools, which countries and stakeholders find very useful, on Thursday. Social event. We have a very nice social event organised on Tuesday evening on the 5th floor with one of the most beautiful views of Rome, so please don't miss it. Go up to the 8th floor and go as far left as you can, and you'll find the Russia room, and it's absolutely beautiful. And yesterday, given that we had some new adoptions under the UNFCCC, we decided to slot in a special event on Wednesday at just after lunch, forest monitoring in relation to Articles 6.2 and 6.4, really just an informal exchange with countries in the Mexico room. So we'd like to invite you to come and hear about these new adoptions under the UNFCCC and some initial reflections from our team on how we think this will affect our work on forest monitoring in the coming years. So thank you very much. I think I'm right on time. Till, am I right on time? Thumbs up. So thanks everybody. That was the opening session, and now we'll clear the dais and make way for a very interesting first panel of the day. Thank you very much everybody, and have a great week. Please tell me.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks, everyone. Let's start with the first panel. If I can please ask the panelists of the first panel to join me up here, please. All right. This is the first and most beautiful panel of the whole week. First thing, a very important announcement. In order to get the interpretation, what do you need to do, Marika? You please explain that, would you?
So you have this little screen in front of you. If you just click on it with your finger, you should find in the corner an interpretation button. Para la interpretación en español hay que tocar la pantalla y ahí sale a la izquierda un botón para seleccionar idioma. Hopefully. No, it's not working. Double click. Double click. There you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are off to an excellent start to this event. Again, I recommend using the earpiece. If you don't use the earpiece, the audio in this room is horrible. The acoustics is not good. Use the earpiece, then you will hear me much better. As Tom is doing there. Yeah, all right. All right, this is the session on the evolving context of forest monitoring. This session is important because it will set the stage. It will set the stage for the day that we have together, but also really for the week. Also, it will set the stage for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Julian has already shown that we have 3 parallel tracks for the week. This session explains why we have these parallel tracks and what they consist of. My name is Till Neve. I am a forestry officer with the FAO, and I am the host of the next 90 minutes together. Yeah, so all of this is about forest monitoring, of course. Forest monitoring is a core component of any structured way to manage forests in a sustainable manner. Yes, there's a long tradition to that, obviously, but this session is about the evolving context, and there is a lot happening on the context for forest monitoring. A few things already came up briefly here and there. Yeah, in the things that were said by Ellen and by the director and by Maggie and by Julian before. But yeah, just to reiterate, think about how it was only a few days ago, really. I think it was the night from Saturday to Sunday where there were decisions taken in Baku. The decisions taken in Baku on Article 6. On Article 6 and how that finally is operational after years and years of negotiations, where forests can participate in the global carbon markets going forward, yet it does come with forest monitoring requirements again. So of course, important decisions, but they have an impact for the work that all of us do here on forest monitoring. And that is just Article 6. Just a few days earlier, there were decisions taken to finally launch Scale of the World Bank, a new financial fund, which again will have its forest monitoring requirements. About 2 weeks ago, the Green Climate Fund finally settled on including a RED+, mainstreaming that into the national funding allocations. There are also forest monitoring requirements that come along with that. So plenty of things happening just on measurement and reporting and verification of mitigation actions. The context for forest monitoring is changing. Yes, and that is only MRV. But then you also have forest monitoring, for example, in the context of nature restoration. And it is only about 2 years ago that there was a Target 2 included in the Convention on Biological Diversity's reporting framework that speaks about how countries have to quantify the areas of degraded forests and the areas that are under effective restoration. And you have governments around the world working in order to begin getting ready for actually reporting on these things. At the same time, there was mentioned before about transparent commodity value chains. And we all know about the European Union that have the deforestation regulation, which really puts in place a requirement for private sector when they import commodities that they check where those commodities come from, where exactly they come from, down to the plot level, and what the deforestation and forest cover state at that specific location were. Enormous requirements, again, that relate to forest monitoring. Then, of course, all of this happens in a context where technological innovation advances quickly. Now, of course, the traditional way of counting the number of trees and taking a few diameter measurements in the field, that remains important. But nowadays, when we speak about forest monitoring, what we really speak about is big data. No, we speak about big data, we speak about artificial intelligence algorithms, we speak about satellite data, we process data in the cloud. We had a whole session at the International Day of Forests just a few months ago speaking about what technological innovation means. So lots going on. This session is to unpack that. But what is important to us is that sure, policy context keeps evolving. Sure, technology advances, but at the same time, it's absolutely essential to not lose sight of the institutional context in developing countries for undertaking forest monitoring. For us at FAO, we have it at heart that there be appropriate, adequate institutional embedding of forest monitoring systems, that there be a sufficient legal context, that there be good funding from domestic sources for forest monitoring, because without that, there could not be sustainability of forest monitoring systems in countries. So that is what we're going to speak about in this session. And we try, and this multitude of different things, we boiled it down to 3 different tracks. 3 tracks that you see here on the screen already, and we will walk through them in the next few minutes together. The first track is about forest monitoring for transparent commodity value chains. Yeah. The second track is about a country-led planning process for better forest monitoring, which the Global Forest Observations Initiative is working on. And the third track is about measurement, reporting, and verification of forest mitigation actions. That is the program that we have to cover. And you also see here on screen the fantastic panel that we have in order to discuss these issues. We have Remy D'Annunzio, who is a forestry officer here with the FAO. We also have Oscar Gutierrez Ortega, who is with Midagri from Peru, the Ministry of Agricultural Development and Irrigation. We have, here to my right, Eli Piniva-Reed, who is with the Secretariat of the GFOI, the Global Forest Observations Initiative. And I think next to her we have Apisai Malo with the Ministry of Forestry from Fiji. We have Marika Sandker at the very right, who is also a forestry officer with the FAO. We have Hope Asimwe to my left, who is with the REP+ Secretariat of Uganda at the Ministry of Water and Environment. And last but not least, we have Mr. Osamu Uchiai, who will speak both on behalf of the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites and also on behalf of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. All right, that's the panel. That's the event. We have these 3 blocks that we're going to speak about, and in each block, we always have the same setup. It works in a way where we first have a background presentation on that individual topic, and then secondly, we have a representative from a tropical developing country speak about how that specific context plays out in a given country. So it's a bunch of PowerPoints, but there is also opportunity for asking questions. So after each block, you will have the opportunity to ask something, and we will respond to those questions live in the room. I think we should launch in. We launch into this with Remy D'Annunzio, and we need to change the slide. So please bring up the slide deck on the commodities. Remy, you please get us started with your block on forest monitoring and transparent commodity value chains. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jill. I don't know if the slides are coming up, but I'll get started. So after years of those voluntary approaches we mentioned earlier for reducing deforestation linked to commodity production, regulatory mechanisms are on the rise. FAO has been supporting those voluntary approaches, especially the RED+ scheme, by developing robust and transparent forest monitoring systems. And now those solutions are being adapted for systems to monitor deforestation claims under regulatory schemes, and this approach is being supported by key partners. They were mentioned already several times today, but I'd like to acknowledge them. So first the UK through the Aim for Forest program, USAID and the US State Department with the Forest Data Partnership, and now recently coming in, JZ in Germany through the Sustainable Agriculture for Forest Ecosystems program. So if we can go to the next slide, I would like to start this quick presentation by giving some good news around the launch of a new paper. So next slide, please. A new paper that is showing
Just one sec, Remy, we need to get this straight with the thing to advance the slides. There should be a little remote control.
Without this, it won't work. So let me try that. Yes, you can do it yourself. So let's start with some good news and the launch of the key 2024 achievement under the Aim for Forest program, which is this paper and associated tool on transparent commodity value chains. So key insights in this paper include background information on due diligence obligations. It also includes the results of the first test and implementation of a practical assessment tool, which provides information on geospatial data needs. The tool was tested in an earlier global exchange in Lima, Peru, earlier this year, and you will find some key aspects of this framework and results from 7 countries that were included. So we have those lessons learned from the field. The paper itself comes with an Excel-based tool that's very simple and very easy to manipulate, and that will capture data readiness for a country with respect to key regulation, such as the UDR or the FRC regime. So we will test the tool during a work session tomorrow, and we will gather data about country readiness. And I really encourage you to check out the publication and to join us to test the tool tomorrow if you're interested. This framework can be very much of interest for a very large span of actors. For instance, there are 183 institution members of DIASCA. DIASCA is the Digital Integration of Agricultural Supply Chain Alliance. It's an alliance of NGOs, government agencies, open source initiatives, standardization organization, and they all come under the banner of the Sustainable Supply Chains Initiative, SASI, of Germany. And here you have a snapshot of key members of DIASCA, but there are many more, and they all strive to support readiness towards those transparent value chains. Among the work that was made possible this year, in 2024, thanks to DIASCA, I would like to mention the work carried out in partnership with the Forest Data Partnership, ACSTAC under the Linex Foundation, TechnoServe, and supported by SAFE. And there is a press release that's been published this morning. I encourage you to go and check out the Forest Data Partnership website where you will find it. So why do we need a digital public infrastructure? And what is a digital public infrastructure? It's basically a set of technology building blocks that are powered by interoperable, open standards, operating under a set of enabling rules with open, transparent, participatory governance to drive innovation. This digital public infrastructure is what DIASCA has been working towards, and I'm very, very pleased to announce the second good news for today, which is the launch, or the soon-to-be-launched Aim for Commodities project, supported by GIZ through the Innovation for Agriculture Fund. The aim of Aim for Commodities is to develop, maintain, and deploy operational global tools to contribute to an enabling environment where smallholder farmers across all regions benefit from technological innovation, are not negatively impacted by the digital divide, and keep their access to premium markets. Aim for Commodities will strive to contribute to a digital public infrastructure and will be complementary to the work started with SAFE this year. Why is this important? Well, what you see on screen here is a word cloud that was made from traceability solutions thoroughly tested and examined as per a recent meta-study led by the International Coffee Organization. What you see here is like 45 different traceability solutions and their names put in a word cloud that are available. And what's important to understand is that all the solutions, those digital solutions, are actually pretty robust. They do a really good job at assessing deforestation risks and their value chains. But what you also see is that there's a multiplicity of them. How to choose? What's the best? What's the right and legitimate one? And this is a sign that efforts are somehow duplicated and that there's a need to make sense of all these solutions landscape. Solutions are complex and they require convergence if we want them to have credibility. To guarantee convergence, we need a pre-competitive digital public infrastructure that enables to produce replicable data. So that leads me to the third announcement this morning, which is the restarting of the DIASCA Forest Observation Monitoring Task regular webinar series. We have a series that will restart in early 2025. We will give priority to producing countries to share their experience to share their work, the challenges they face. There are 6 slots available, so please apply now if you're interested, if you want to showcase your country experience. I would like to finish my little presentation by underlining the importance of bridging traceability solutions with national forest monitoring systems. Nothing is better than examples, so I would like to give the example of Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire recently published this year a baseline cover and land use map for the year 2020, which is the cutoff date of the EU regulation, with the support of the Sustainable Cocoa Initiative. This geospatial product, this map, helps identify where forests and commodities like cocoa are located. The product is fully open, it's accessible through different pathways, and as such, it's already integrated in different platforms and traceability solutions, here in the WISP map platform. In that sense, it really helps smallholders who are already producing cocoa in 2020 to support their compliance claims and keep their access to markets. It's really a product that can help protect smallholders. I believe this is an example of good practice, and you will find in the room the head of the institution who did this. And this is where I finish. I would like to now give the floor to another country who's progressed a lot towards transparency and robustness, bridging traceability with the national forest system, which is Peru.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you, Remy. Excellent overview. Let's hand it straight over to Oscar. To Oscar, please, to talk us through the case of Peru, please.
Buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here today with all of you.
Oscar, sorry, just to give people 1 second. For the translation, put the earpiece into your ear. And how was that? You need to double click on the screen, double tap on the screen, and then there will be some sort of thing coming up. All right? And then you can choose the language. Sorry, Oscar, for interrupting you. Just to give people time to get organized with the translation, because we do want to hear you.
Sí. Bueno, lo que les comentaba era hoy le voy a presentar.
I was telling you, I'm going to be presenting one of the main activities, strategic activities that we, as a sector at the Ministry for Agricultural Development, have been carrying out as part of our commitment to the agricultural sector, technification and forestry monitoring in value chains.
Estamos hablando del padrón de productores.
We're talking about the model of agricultural producers and the tools we've implemented within the sector, including the observatory and the digital identity application. Now, the Registry of Agricultural Producers is an alphanumeric and geographic database including 38 strategic variables, and this enables us as a sector to have an integral diagnosis of the service needs and product potential. That's for each producer, and with that information, we're able to implement strategies that are focused and policies to each producer group, and thus use state resources efficiently. The observatory, which is the first technological tool implemented on the sectoral level by the ministry, is a geographic tool that's been designed as a focus analysis of all services, strategies, and policies that are implemented by the Ministry for Agricultural Development and Irrigation. And I'm going to show you now how this works. Here we've got a statistical part, a geographical part. You select the crop. You can see all of the producer regions. For coffee, for example, I'll select a region. And here I can see the database of all of the producers registered who have declared this crop. I can download the database, and then I can select where they are geographically. I can zoom, and then I can identify the individual producers with the information that they've registered. Obviously, there's just an identification. The producers aren't named, and that's the observatory. The second technological platform or tool that we've implemented through the ministry is the digital identity. It's a mobile application that each of the producers registered can download to their mobile phones through our application, through the App Store. This is free of charge, and within that, they can georeference free of charge all of their plots. And one of the advantages of this application is that producers can receive all of the services that are provided by the state, phytosanitary alerts, weather alerts, various training services, and they can receive all of that at home or on their land via their mobile phones, so they don't need to travel to another place to get all of that. Now, in the framework of the EU regulation, we've implemented and given priority to the identification of the plots by way of an easy guide, so producers can georeference their plots via the mobile application, and that's a priority that we've implemented throughout the 8 or 9 Amazon regions. The ministry, together with the National Forestry Authority, therefore, have implemented a georeferencing plan through the 9 Amazon regions in Peru. Now, we make available to all of the agricultural producers of coffee, cocoa, or palm, we make that mobile application available, and therefore producers can georeference and they can go through a filter through the SERFOR tool. It's possible to determine whether the plots comply with the initial condition that needs to be met. And then the report reaches producers or is sent to producers via their mobile phones so they can work out whether they comply with the regulation. How does this SAMI tool work? Well, very briefly, here you can see all of the areas, and we use different satellite images in order to be able to identify whether the plot complies with the regulation or not. We can identify different satellite images via Sentinel, identify the plot, define the various filters and identify the crop, so as to be able to identify when the plot was deforested. Now we're implementing a tool so that exporters can actually see the plots that comply or don't comply. Through this tool, inputting my ID number, I can see whether the producer who wants to export coffee, cocoa, or palm complies with the first condition. This is a platform that we've been developing, and we've got more than 20,000 polygons that have been entered via the producers and cooperatives, and we're currently carrying out the filter to ensure that the polygons via the application can have their fulfillment report. Here, this is what we're implementing. And just before I conclude, I'd like to mention the fact that we, as a public sector within the ministry, with the support of international cooperation, we're implementing these tools. Not only do they benefit thousands of agricultural producers, but on a sector level, we're trying to lay the foundations to ensure that Peru can be a benchmark country when it comes to agricultural sustainability and a reference for various markets, and so that our produce can reach all of the other markets. Thank you very much.
Oscar, you make it sound easy to do this kind of thing. It will be very interesting to hear a bit more from you on how to do these things operationally. We have time for questions. Not much time, but a little bit we do. So in case there's anyone who would like to put Oscar or Remy on the spot, now is your opportunity. But while you think about, in case you want to ask them something, I will ask a first question from Oscar, and that is simply because, well, he does make it sound easy. No, it's just a bunch of data sets, you put it on the internet. No, it doesn't look difficult. But Oscar, maybe you can speak a bit about why this is difficult, and what have the challenges been really for you and the team to put in place this data infrastructure. That's just my first question. Everyone else, please think about in case you want to ask them something, because there will be a second question time for that. Oscar, please, if you can speak about challenges in setting this kind of thing up, that would be very interesting, please.
Claro, en 7 minutos creo que es un poquito, lo vemos muy fácil, ¿no? Fue un gran reto como sector público.
It was a huge challenge as a public sector to be able to geo-reference. We've got some 400,000 producers of coffee, cocoa, and palm, and 200,000 of those are already exporting products. One of the challenges was being able to geo-reference and identify platforms so that free of charge and in an easy fashion, producers could actually gain access to those technological tools. We're also working for 2026 on a whole digital literacy issue, because of course it's not easy to introduce new technologies that producers in the field can understand. So we've been implementing a number of pilot projects so that producers can join in and become involved in this new challenge of technology in agriculture in Peru. It's one of the challenges that we have as a public sector, increasing expertise among the producers, and the tools that we've been implementing since 2022 and 2023 have represented a huge challenge for us, because we have no doubt about the fact in Minagri that this is the way forward for us, so that producers can get closer and so that they can gain trust as well in the activities and strategies implemented by the ministry.
Take note of that, 400,000. All right, anyone else has a question for Remy or for Oscar? We have one question over there, please over there. If you push the button, then you switch on the microphone. If you can also please say who you are and who you're with.
Okay, I am Farouk Kwansanyami from Ghana Cocoa Board. Oscar, I would want to know, you've picked almost about 20,000, geoinformation on farms. That is what you said. Is there any challenges with accuracy of the devices that the farmers use, especially when you map adjoining farms, farms that share common boundaries? Is there any experience with accuracy, and how do you go about the editing? Okay, thank you.
Yes, that was a huge challenge, because we've implemented a number of geo-referencing modules. First of all, we had some 5 pilots in a region, all the regions do vary, but one of the challenges was being able to geo-reference by drawing the polygon. And then the other modality is tracking. The satellite imagery doesn't enable you to identify, of course, but within the presentation, apart from geo-referencing, we've got filters so that we can identify the polygon if it's actually the polygon that the producer has in his or her plot.
Thank you, Oscar. Look, everyone, I know we would like to discuss more, but we cannot because we have a lot more ground to cover. But I will quickly turn it back to Remy to give us an overview of what will happen during the rest of the week. And I know there are further questions, but you have another 3 days to discuss, so now we don't have more time. I'm so sorry. But if you can please bring up the PowerPoint again, and then we can hear from Remy quickly what it is that lies ahead of us on this topic of deforestation-free commodities. If we can please bring up the PowerPoint again, the same PowerPoint that we were looking at before.
While the slides are coming up, yeah, I'd like to confirm we will have plenty of times to discuss during the next 2.5 days on those technical aspects. I've seen that there are already like 3 or 4 questions, so we will answer them. I hope you're coming to the commodity stream if you are interested in those topics. I think the example of Peru was a really good one, and I think there's much to be learned. Okay, I don't know if we will have the slide, but it's okay. This is not my making right now. But we will have a knowledge exchange exactly around this topic. We want to share experience to advance learning and to enable collaboration on 2 things. On geospatial information needs, which is really at the core of what is involved in these transparent community value chains. And we also want to enable collaboration around forest monitoring for transparent community value chains. And what we will have is, tomorrow morning we will have a quick update on one of the hot topic of the year, which is the UDR. And we will have directly updates from DG Environment, from Antoine Auchin. Then we will have 2 types of sessions. We will have first the perspective of the supply, of the supplying commodities countries. And then on the second day, we will have the perspective of the demand side of the countries that are actually importing those commodities. We will also have 2 working groups sessions. One on data readiness, so we can address the question further down the line that Farouk asked. And then we will have another one on Wednesday on data governance. And we hope that on Thursday morning we have gathered, exchanged, and shared enough information so that we can actually make some recommendations, practical recommendations and priorities for the huge programs that we have around and that we hope can support all the countries that are here present in the room. Most importantly, we have those 2.5 days. It's just an excuse to actually exchange. We want you to discuss, we want you to chat, to debate, ask questions, answer them, and I hope it actually produces some concrete recommendations and outputs. So that's it. It will be happening mostly in the Austria room, and we'll give a more detailed update of the program later today.
That is, discuss, chat, debate, ask, and answer. I think that's a nice motto for the week, isn't it? Thank you, Remy. Let's change the scenery now, because this was just the first out of 3 blocks. Let's switch over to the second block, and Ellie is sitting right next to me. She will please take this away.
Thank you, Till, and everyone. My name is Ellie Penevarid, and I'm the GFOI CLP. As Ellen said, we don't need more acronyms, but sometimes it's easier to say, but the Country-Led Planning Initiative, and thank you. And
if you can bring up the slides, please. Sorry that I'm interrupting you. If you can please bring up the slides for Ellie, please.
Thanks. I'm very excited to be here, and I would like to use this opportunity, even though I have very short time for the COP presentation, to really welcome the countries and tell them Thank you for showing up, and Apisai from Fiji, who we've been working very closely over the past year. So we're hoping to have a productive day today, and for the upcoming forum, the CLP Forum on Connect and Reflect. So I will give you a very brief introduction to some and update to others on the CLP. Thanks. So the country-led planning, from here on I will use it as a COP, its objective is to assist motivated countries to identify a coherent sequence of steps to operationalize and later sustain their national forest monitoring systems and associated MRV procedures as a core function of the government. The CLP is funded by the UK program Aim for Forest. It's implemented by GFOI, but most importantly, is actually led by the countries through a process which is unique to each country with their specific national circumstances. So what you see on this diagram that we've put together on the, is really the process, how the COP process can help coordinate countries' interactions with international development partners, and at the same time see how the partners, GFOI partners listed on the other side, can provide and ensure that support that they provide is targeted to the country needs and ensured and safe for the future. So why is the COP needed? We have done, and many of you in the room know the answer to this question, but it's not an easy one. Many impressive technological and projects have been done. A lot of progress have been made, but the focus has been primarily on the technical side, and we all have realized the need to start working towards addressing institutional arrangement and assisting countries to doing so, to create really a system that's sustainable over the years. So we need to say in a very brief format, need to address the later to sustain the former, so continuous technical assistance can be provided in a very well-structured and embedded national forest monitoring system. So over the time we've been working with countries and with the GFOI partners, there came many times to the questions, what is COP? And while talking to many of you, the question was easier explained through what it is and sometimes through what it isn't. So let's first focus on what it is. COP is a process. Each country, when the COP process is initiated, defines where it wants to go in terms of institutionalizing the NFMS. At what pace, through what route, and with what kind of support, if any. The COP is also a way to motivate the country's decisions on how to institutionalize the NFMS and to support them in implementing it. It is also a strategy for the countries to strengthen their leadership in engaging with donors and partners into moving forward. It's also a strategy for the donors and partners interested in supporting the country's efforts in institutionalizing the NFMS and to continue doing so in a framework of horizontal relationship that guarantees its effectiveness and sustainability of support provided. I will also say what it isn't. The country-led planning is not a fixed project with set timelines and deliverables in each country. This comes from the fact that each country will have a very unique approach of their own COP. It is also not a standardized one-size-fits-all intervention. It is not driven by external requirements, and it does not replace ongoing partnerships and technical support. Here I would like to focus on the COP process. Many of you are familiar with the steps identified by the GFOI, and the first four really focus on the work we have done as a team under the GFOI program of support. But the most important part comes at step 5, and this is the country's implementation. This is where the country starts the process, and as I said, chooses the route and the pace to go forward. So the objective of the COP really is to facilitate those countries who are willing to move forward and to pick those coherent steps to operationalize and sustain the NFMS. For different countries, These will be different steps. And here what you see is a very much just an example of some that we have identified based on the experience we have gained in the past year. Facilitating multi-stakeholder discussions, national consultations and coordination mechanism to be revived or to be established if none exist. Reviewing and commenting technical and functional gap assessment, reviewing country planning processes, also speaking about the needs of other assessments. This is really just to show you the distribution of the current 6 COP countries, and these are in the room. These are colleagues from Fiji, Vietnam, DRC, Peru, Guatemala, and Kenya. Next year, the team will welcome the 4 next countries, and so far every year till 2028. I'll give you a very brief update on the process of COP and what we have done so far. As I said from the beginning, it's country-led, so it's very important for all of us to let the countries lead. So I'm trying to really keep my presentation short and let Apisai speak after that. But so far, we have organized strategy meetings for all COP countries, for some of them more than one. We have visited countries, some more than once. For Fiji, we have worked on workshops and exploration missions, worked with them to identify what it means for Fiji and what it is that their national forest monitoring system should look like. Fiji is currently preparing a proposal for establishment of coordination body, but Apisai could tell you more about it. Guatemala, the government of Guatemala led national COP workshops to define the country's NFMS and develop a roadmap that fits its institutionalization. A new agreement to re-establish a technical coordination body expected to be signed at the end of this year. And for Kenya, we're almost finalizing and finishing the data need assessment with support from FAO and the Aim for Forest team. Also, we have supported our partners, US Forest Service, in organizing a workshop in South-South cooperation on operationalization of the NFMS. All these, we have produced reports. So I would like to give you, this is something new. So far, probably most of you have heard about COP. What I will spend roughly a minute or two, just to keep everything in time, because I know Jill's just going to cut me off at any point. 4 minutes? Okay, so the COP gap assessment. All I want to mention to you today, and we'll work with the countries during the forum, is it's a new tool that has been developed by our team. It will be working in progress during the 3 days to come with all the countries because it's based on a participatory approach. Thank you.
And we should speak more about this because I did over coffee hear a lot about this tool, and yeah, I'll be very curious, and I think there's more time in the session than to hear about the CLP functional gap assessment tool, something based in political economy analysis to speak about forest monitoring will be fascinating. But before we do that, we need to hear now from Fiji, because Ellie is speaking in general terms. Let's hear how this pans out at a country level. And here we have Apisai, who's going to speak about the Fiji experience, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellie, for the presentation and the introduction to the GFOI CLP projects. My name is Apisai Rinamalo, and I'm currently working under the Ministry of Forestry in Fiji. And I've been very thankful to the GFOI for having the trust in Fiji to be one of the pilot countries selected for this GFOI CLP. And I thank Ellie and the team for that. And I really glad to be here to present on behalf of the Fiji, on behalf of the
sorry, so we need to bring up the slides. Can please the slides be brought up, please? Because those, I think it's just continuing, actually. If you just continue, then they might just come up. If you just continue, if you press the button. No, again?
No forward? Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Next.
Next? Yeah. All right. Okay. Apisai, sorry I interrupted you, but here go your slides, please.
Yeah, and to present to you today the progress of the work that we've been conducting together with the GFOI CLP, country-led program. For Fiji, most of you will like to know where is Fiji. Yeah. So Fiji is a very tiny nation in the world map, even it's like a dot in the world map. So it's the country in one of the small island developing nations in the Pacific Island countries, near to New Zealand and Australia. So we have been glad, as I've mentioned before, that we are also been represented into this, and with the very limited forest resources that we had, we're proud that we have the courage, to promote and to the sustainable development of our forest, the limited forest resources that we have. So going back into my presentation, Fiji, we've also take part into the RED Plus programs, and that is where the GFOI GFOI projects comes in to support Fiji's national forest monitoring system. So our RED Plus projects begins way back a decade ago, 2009. With the support from GIZ, we've started off with our RED Plus projects. And in 2011, we developed our RED Plus policy. And then in 2015, we were fortunate that we were part of we were supported by the World Bank under the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility funding. So we are one of the 15 countries that has been selected through these projects, and we are currently in the process of our RED Plus emission reduction program. So we have already submitted our first monitoring report. Like I've mentioned, in 2021, we've signed our EPA, our emission reduction program agreement with the World Bank. And then right now, we have our period of 5 years, and it will end at the end of this year. And fortunately, World Bank has allowed us to carry on until next year, so that we can complete our monitoring reports, the first phase, second phase, and the third phase, so that they can we can be allowed for the payments of our emission reduction units. So the Fiji's national monitoring system, Fiji's original monitoring system is designed way back in 2017. So a national, which is called a National Forest Management System, which is managed within the Ministry of Forestry in Fiji. And in 2021, it's been updated so that it can meet what's requirements under the RED Plus projects through the World Bank, where we need to have a national forest monitoring system, and we also need to have a national registry under the Climate Change Division for Fiji. So we managed to update our national forest management system in 2021, and when ELI came in, then there's some discussions between the team from ELI and the GFOI team and the government of Fiji regarding our system. And the main difference that we have, the version that we have in 2021 is updated version that includes the integration as the key components of the system, together with the reporting, the form of the FMIS. So the process that we went through with Eli and the team, the GFOI team. So in January 2024, this GFOI country-led was introduced into Fiji with us, with our management of the ministry, and we managed to approve. The management managed to approve, for we have the collaboration with GFOI. So February, they have the exploration mission with us, and we managed to visit a few of the key ministries and organizations in Fiji. And we are very fortunate that GFOI too, they also invited some of these key institutions in Fiji. For example, they are here with us, the director of the Ministry of Lands from Fiji. We are also here with us, the conservator of forests from Fiji. And the team, we are also here, the director of operations from the Tauki Affairs from Fiji, and also the representatives from our climate change divisions and environment, and also our team leader, Red Plus. So we're really thankful for that, for the invitation that that team can come to update us on the progress of our GFOI CLP program. And then from the 27th to 30th May, we have the first workshop with the team. And this is where we have a first within the ministry. We have a collaboration within the ministry, and the GFOI team, they inform us of how the GFOI CLP will work, and we are really fortunate to that. We also managed to have a national workshop within all the ministry and stakeholders. We are coming together, and we also discuss on this. So we have ongoing collaboration, and we will continue with this until next year. So fortunately, next year, then we will have to finish off with this. So these are what we've came up with our workshop and the participants. So the main objective is to gain comprehensive understanding of the NFMS system. What is NFMS, National Forest Monitoring System for Fiji? Discuss the characteristics, the status, future for Fiji of the NFMS. We also explore the institutional responsibilities, technical and functional capacity, the development and alignment with the country-led program process. So with the output of our workshop, proposal was prepared by the Ministry of Forestry, and this proposal has been submitted to the Forestry Management, and they've approved, and we're now awaiting for cabinet decision or cabinet submission to move on with this GFOI FLP program.
I'm wondering whether we should leave some time for questions from the audience, because if we go to the very end, it would be hard to find the time. But maybe there are questions, and we should give people an opportunity to ask. Well, I have one question, but I've thought about this before. But are there other questions, especially to Apisai, of course, but also to Ellie, about the country-led planning process and what it can bring to countries? We had here a presentation from Ellie, who spoke about what the country-led planning consisted of, and then we had the case of Fiji presented. Other questions, immediate questions from the audience? Well, if they are not, you can still raise your hand, but if they are not, then I will ask to Apisai to please speak about one thing that I think is important for everyone to hear, and that is simply your advice to other countries. No, because you've been through this process, or you're in the midst of it, no? But here are several other countries that participate, maybe other countries that could be offered to undertake a country-led planning process in the near future. What is your advice to them? How to best engage with Ellie and the team? If you could speak about that, Apisai, that would be very interesting, I think.
Thank you for the question, Till. For the experience that we have with the GFOI, I think we are like going in the right directions. So with the adopted of the 6.2 and 6.4, we are moving on into the right directions now for Fiji. So my advice is for country, we need to go together with what's been in that international level. So it's very important for us, technologies comes in now, and it's very important for us to be at least update with all the information that we have, sharing of informations, especially within the information within the nations. This is very important, connecting the dots together and moving the ideas, so that we can all go together on the same objectives of what we want under the GFOI FCLP. Thank you.
Apisai, thank you. Thank you. Are there other questions? Questions to Apisai, questions to Ellie? What I would find interesting, if those who have a CLP process in their country could quickly raise their hand, that would be already interesting, I think, because it is not only Fiji, but there's several other countries that participate. I know that in Kenya, this happens, no? Also in several other places. So yeah, and there are more countries to come. I think Ellie spoke about this. Ellie, how do you select the countries that work on the CLP process?
Actually, very good question, having Apisai next to me. So there's 3 ways for a country to be selected under the COP process. One is for country to self-identify, and this is actually the case with Fiji. Back in the time, there was a representative from the Ministry of Forestry who came to the GFOI plenary and talked about the issues that the country is facing and all the assistance that has been given to Fiji in the technical aspects, but they're really in need of addressing, institutionalizing the national forest monitoring system, sustaining it and making it stronger. So that was a country that reached directly to GFOI, and that's a way for any country in the world, really tropical countries, to reach directly to us, express the desire to initiate a COP process. The second way to select the countries through a proposal through our GFOI partners and donors. And the third one is countries sometimes are selected directly from the very well structured, identified and selected list of countries under the Aim for Forest program. And the 6 countries that are now engaged in the COP are selected pretty much through the 3 different options. So this is the way to be able to be initiating a COP process in countries.
It comes down to come talk to Ellie in case you're interested. If you can be brief, then Sasha, you can please ask a question.
Yes, it's a question for Apisai. My name is Sasha Gottlieb. I'm with the U.S. Forest Service. I was wondering if you could talk just a little bit about the stakeholders that are involved in the consultations, if it's exclusively government or if you're also involving private sector, NGOs, different community groups. Thank you.
Thank you for the question from the U.S. Forest Service. We're also thankful to U.S. Forest Services for providing also their services to Fiji. We as a U.S. fellow through the U.S. Fellowship Program, and he is one of the key person to all these initiatives, and we're really thankful for the U.S. Forest Services for your for trusting Fiji to be one of the countries that you are assisting. And for the questions, like we have some key ministries that are within government ministries, as I've mentioned, that are part of the workshops that we conducted in Fiji. We also included some of our private companies that manage private plantations. And we also have NGOs, some of the key NGOs in Fiji that are also presented in that workshop. So these are the key people that we need to work together in order for us to get this GFO country-led program run smoothly in Fiji. As I've mentioned, that we need to target to have to meet the objectives of this GFOI CLP, which is to have an to institutionalize the National Forest Monitoring System, and also ties up with what we have into our national registry. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's hear very briefly, please, from Ellie on what's going to happen during the next days, and then we will move over to block 3 of our little session together. But Ellie, you please give us an overview what you're going to work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, please.
Thanks, Till. So this is the overview of the COP Forum Connect and Reflect. The name pretty much tells you what it's going to be about. We would like to connect with all the countries and have the countries connect to each other, talk, discuss, ask questions, have recommendations, talk about each other's success stories, and sometimes more importantly, issues, bottlenecks, and so forth. So the forum is organized in 3 days. Starting tomorrow, the first day, we'll focus on the why, what, and the how. We're very interested in hearing back from the countries on the COP. We'll give presentations on similar to what you saw today, but in more depth. And then we'll have opportunities for improvement and recommendations on good practices to maintain and what is to be dropped, what is to be improved coming from the countries. I would like to mention that throughout the week, we will work in working breakout groups. So it's very important for the COP participants, the countries, and those partners that are aware who they are in the room to stay and stick to those working groups, because if each day is really dependent on the day before. All the work will be done one day and the plenaries will follow up on the next. So day 2 or Wednesday is going to focus on the countries inside. We'll have presentations from the countries. We'll discuss what does it look like to have an embedded core function of the government. It sounds, as we said at the beginning, some things sound easy and simple when you put them in the sentence, but when you have to do it, the work is rather complex. We'll also talk about the very much the big elephant in the room, I still call it, the new COP focus functional gap assessment. And I mentioned this at the beginning. I want to make sure again that it's clear it is not a tool that's developed. It's a tool in development, and we wanted to make sure that we start from the beginning and work directly with the countries. And the third day is really the country's next steps, what's coming, what kind of process we can move forward, and have some ideas of where the countries will go after this workshop.
I think that deserves a round of applause, please, for Abisai and Eddie. That concludes the presentations on the second block, the CLP stream. CLP is country-led planning with the Global Forest Observations Initiative. But let's speak about the third block. The third block is measurement, reporting, and verification of mitigation actions in forestry. And Marika will take that away, please. And that means that we need to bring up the slide on the MRV, please.
Thank you, Till. So my name is Marike Sandker. I'm Forestry Officer at FAO on measuring, reporting, and verification. And I will run you through the changing context of MRV. If I manage to move the slides. Yeah, there we go. So I'm starting off with this, a bit of a cruel slide, I find. It's total chaos, it's very dense, but it's purposefully, because it's just to show how much has happened over the last 10 plus years. So let's first look at the lower part of this timeline, so the UNFCCC. Well, first, at the end of 2013, the Warsaw Framework, let's say, completed the reporting requirements for REDD+. So that was kind of like the kickoff. At that point, countries could submit reference levels and report emission reductions to the UNFCCC. Only 2 years later, the Paris Agreement came along, superseding the Kyoto Protocol and changing the context of reporting for countries. It included an Article 6, which allowed the transfer of emission reduction, of mitigation outcomes. So countries needed to think twice again. Okay, how is it going to affect? And then, of course, a lot more has happened, but I had to be selective to at least leave it a little bit readable, this slide. So this year... Okay. I was too close to the microphone, sorry. So then this year, we have the Enhanced Transparency Framework coming into play, with countries for the first time reporting their biannual transparency reports. And Article 6, so as Till already mentioned before, important decisions on Article 6 being made, and on Wednesday will actually be a session to talk to this more. But now let's look beyond the UNFCCC. So a lot more has happened. So opportunities have risen, opportunities have closed. Look, for example, at the Carbon Fund, the FCPF. It had a pilot program for emission reduction payments, but then in 2015, the pipeline was closed. So, some countries might have missed the boat. Then also we had the Green Climate Fund, another pilot for results-based payments, again, giving opportunities to countries, but then the funds were depleted in 2020. So opportunities opening, opportunities closing. In 2018, also an important year, the Art Secretariat was created, coming subsequently with the Art Tree Standard. So that allowed countries to get access to the market, but also there was the LEAF Coalition, which had a specific pledge using the Art Trees standard. Again, new opportunities for countries there. So last year, we saw the World Bank with Scale, so a new trust fund helping countries to mobilize finance for climate action. And last week, actually last Friday, the UK announced £188 million funding 4-scale program. So all these opportunities have been rising, have been, all these things have changed the environment in which countries are reporting. Maybe also interesting to mention is the last year, the Guardian article, many of you might recall it. So this harshly criticized RED+ projects, saying that they were overestimating emission reductions, but it also had an effect on the market for jurisdictional RED+, which is completely different, but the buyers don't quite get that. So all of these things are coming into play. And then again, the Green Climate Fund, only last month, finally made a decision for an actual window for results-based payment, but coming again with a new scorecard. So underlined here, we can see the different reporting requirements, the different standards. So there's all these different requirements for MRV reporting. So, of course, this creates an increasing complexity for countries, and countries have to grasp all these changing opportunities, changing environments, changing markets, and wrap their head around it, and then make the right decisions in all this complexity. And sometimes it feels like the goalposts are shifting, like a country could have been preparing for the first GCF phase, then the money was gone, then R3 comes along, but the requirements are different, all of a sudden you don't meet it anymore. So it feels a bit like shifting goalposts. But if we take a more positive look, we could also see it like growing opportunities. So, okay, the standards are different, but most of it is actually very similar. So if you meet one standard, you're pretty likely to also meet another one. And maybe the fact that they're slightly different is also an opportunity for countries. So, if I, as a country, have legal issues that don't allow title transfer, maybe I can try another, the GCF program. So let's also look at it positively. Now, what has FAO been doing? And I'm sorry, the slides here are all changing a little bit, but this is just to give a sense of all the different topics that we're working on. I'm not going to speak to this now, but during the week, you'll have an opportunity to learn more about this. Be on the lookout also for these little QR cards with information about publications and everything. But more importantly than what FAO has been doing, what have countries done in this challenging context, right? So first of all, 23 countries have reported emission reductions in their BUR technical annexes, and last year, or this year, not last year, Guyana and Panama have submitted emission reductions in the BTR technical annexes. But if we look at this slide, it also almost feels like in 2023, 2024, not that much has happened. So actually, to get the full picture, we might also want to look a little bit beyond the UNFCCC and look at jurisdictional RED+. So, here we can see, for example, that a lot has happened in the last years. And of the countries that have reported to these jurisdictional schemes, 8 have actually not yet reported to the UNFCCC. So this is why we'd like to take the full picture. So to now have this information, an overview, because sometimes as the whole thing is complex, also following the progress is sometimes complex with different reports being posted in different places. So to put everything together, we have created this dashboard that we're launching today. And I'd really like to acknowledge the people that are displayed here on the screen. They've been super helpful, really great in getting this work done. The project is a living project. It will constantly be updated, and we're really looking forward also to your feedback on that. So now to launch, to show you the dashboard, also warning, on your cell phone, it will not be the greatest display, so it's best to open it on a computer. Now I'd like to go to a little video prepared by my colleague Pilar Valbuena, who's running around somewhere with a camera. There she is. Who prepared this actually from away back to Peru. So hands up for that. Okay, can we go to the video, which would either be on the next slide or a separate file?
Forests play an important role in combating climate change. Developing countries can contribute to forest-based climate change mitigation on a voluntary basis through REDD+, which stands for Reducing Emissions from Deforestation, Forest Degradation, and Increasing Removals through the Plus. By the end of 2013, the Warsaw Framework provided important guidance on REDD+ data and reporting, allowing countries to start submitting a reference level to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC. A reference level is a benchmark for assessing a country's performance in reducing forest-based emissions and increasing removals. Since 2014, FAO has been preparing publications to show reporting progress and provide an overview of country choices made in reference-level construction, enabling countries to learn from each other. However, these overviews quickly become outdated as new submissions come in. This is why FAO, through the Aim for Forest programme funded by the United Kingdom, has prepared this dashboard, which is now being launched. Now, let's move to the dashboard that you can find simply under the Forest Monitoring website of FAO. The dashboard shows country reference level S and emission reductions reported to the UNFCCC, as well as emission reductions reported to jurisdictional REDD+ schemes, all in one place. For the first time, users can access all relevant data and information in a single, streamlined platform that is constantly updated. We can see a timeline with country submissions and the area of forest covered per submission, or the cumulative forest area covered by all submissions combined. Hovering over the countries, you can see more information, including a link to the information on the UNFCCC website. We can also look at the country choices made on different reference level elements, with progress over time displayed into the upper corner. The user can apply filters for a customized view. For example, we can filter showing only the most recent reference level submission per country. Information buttons provide an additional explanations of the data being displayed. The dashboard also shows emission reductions reported by countries to the UNFCCC, assessed against their reference levels. An animation illustrates the cumulative amount of emission reductions reported per country, showing large differences in magnitude. Not all countries are reporting their achieved emission reductions as the measurement. Reporting and verification of emission reductions requires significant effort, technical knowledge, and time. Here again, we can apply filter. For example, if we look at emission reductions achieved after 2018 only, the volume drops from 14 billion tonnes of CO2 equivalent to 2.8 billion tonnes. In the upper left corner, you can check when the dashboard was latest updated, so visit the website to see if these numbers have changed. The dashboard also displays forest-related emission reductions from jurisdictional REDD+ schemes. This provides us the more complete picture, since in recent years some countries have reported emission reductions to these schemes, even if they have not yet reported emission reductions to the UNFCCC. Finally, for users interested in all details, the full dataset can be downloaded in bulk, including all details and data sources. The website also contains a feedback button, so we look forward to hear from you.
That's a nice video. Who's looking forward to playing around with that? Well, I am for one. Thank you so much, Marieke. Next, what we have on the agenda is to hear from Hope. She's going to speak about MRV in Uganda. So Marieke has given the general overview, but let's hear from a leading African country on how MRV is implemented at the country level. Hope, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Neil. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm called Hope Asimwe from Uganda, working with the Ministry of Water and Environment at the MRV REDD+ Secretariat. Just to say thank you so much, Mariek, for that overview presentation. According to us, the dashboard is very insightful. We are moving to a place where we want enhanced transparency framework, and this dashboard displays accountability, displays transparency, and gives power to countries that want to make decisions that are informed. So I'm going to take you through Uganda's progress in monitoring, reporting, and verification. And I just want to let you know that Uganda has made significant strides to move and have a robust MRV. MRV is a monitoring, reporting, verification, and to build a very established national forest monitoring system. We did not just start recently. We've had pillars that have helped to build a groundwork for to have a very good MRV. We started in the late 1930s, where we had the establishment of the permanent sample plots, where we had the land use statistics of Uganda, and then we conducted forest inventories right from 1930s to 2020. Then we have been able to develop the land use land cover maps that have all informed and provided data for MRV in Uganda. And in 2009, that's when we started our National Red Plus process with the support of the Forest Partnership Fund. And then we moved up to 2020, where we were able to now transit and submit our biannual report as a technical annex to the UNFCCC. Between that 2009 and 2020, we were able to develop the 4 WASO elements, and that's the National Red Plus Strategy Action Plan, National Forest Monitoring System, the forest reference emission levels that were submitted in 2018, and also the social safeguard information system that also is still in the development phase. But we have the web page that is up and running, and we also are now trying to develop the trees registration documents as well as the trees monitoring reports. Right now, Uganda is preparing concepts both for art trees as well as the GCF result-based payment, and this is based on the fact that we were able to submit our results in 2020 on the Red Plus results to UNFCCC. Uganda has very many existing systems for MRV. In addition to the National Forest Monitoring System, we have the Uganda Water Information System, we have the Forest Alert System, we have the Uganda Natural Resource Information System, we have the SMART system, which is a spatial monitoring and reporting tool that all integrate and report towards the National Forest Monitoring System. Right now, our National Forest Monitoring System is functional in reporting the greenhouse gas emissions as well as the forestry monitoring data changes over the country. Currently, from 1990 to 2019, we have been using pixel method to collect land use land cover maps, but right now with the support of FAO, we have started using the statistical means to estimate area of land use, and this is called the sample-based area approach, which has helped us reduce errors in terms of we've been able to identify and identify the key areas for a particular area and reduce those kinds of errors that come when we are collecting data. What has been our strength? Like I said, we've been able to develop the 4 WASO elements, which have laid groundwork for us to be able to prepare these concept notes to GCF as well as the art trees. We have the National Forest Monitoring System that is up and running in the spaces of forest monitoring and greenhouse gases. We also have the legal framework, which is the Climate Change Act of 2021, that clearly undermines and defines what are the roles for the different stakeholders and what is needed for every stakeholder towards reporting in terms of forestry and greenhouse gas monitoring. Then, with the support from UNRED, we have been able to develop the interpretation key. We have also been able to develop the safeguard information website. We've also been able to move away from the pixel and go to the sample-based area estimates. Uganda currently is in the process of developing data sharing protocols, and we have accessibility issues now, given the fact that we have many stakeholders that are in place towards the National Forest Monitoring System, and we have security rights in terms of what kind of data should go out, and we haven't placed that yet, but we are in the process of developing the data sharing protocol so that we are able to determine and know what information to get, what data formats are there, the methodologies that should come in place, as well as how best we can disseminate the information to the different stakeholders. We have the Act in place, but as much as we have the roles and the different stakeholders, we have not fully operationalized this Act, and this also has brought a challenge to Uganda, and we are hoping that very soon, with the presence and the finalization of Uganda's carbon market regulations that are coming, that are being finalized, this will also be operationalized. We are hoping to also submit our second technical annex to the biannual to UNFCCC, and we hope that this will be done in 2024. So we are in the last phases, and we hope that this is going to also be our basis to result-based payments. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So many things happening. But let us hear also from Usamu now, who will speak about remote sensing and about some of the attractive data sources that we have nowadays. And then maybe we still have time for a question or two from the audience, depending on how good Usamu is going to manage his time. Over to you, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Osamu Chai from the Committee on Earth Observation Satellite, and also my mother organization is the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Today's my talk is more fundamental building blocks for your national forest monitoring system. You know, satellite data is one of the key resources you are now trying to use a lot. Actually, many countries are now utilizing for the remote sensing data satellites. Actually, and then our space agency are really cooperating together, see how we can sustain ensuring our data sets to the public, and also for your utilization for the National Forest Monitoring System. So our role is really likes to how we can leverage our assets in your use. Forest is one of the big assets because forest is globally. So I think you need the data. Data is essential. Without the data, you cannot report. So this is our fundamental building blocks. So we are cooperating together to see how our more co-working, co-designing is our really necessary towards moving forward. So my talk is, I need to manage my talk in 5 minutes, but I hope we can do that. Let me just start in talking about this is like the context of my talk. Let's start. And then, as I mentioned, how to ensure space data supplying to your national forest monitoring system is quite one of really fundamental building blocks for our laws. So you see more and more satellites are launching right now from the public sector, not just only for the public sector space agency, but also the private sector is launching a lot. So we need to more cooperation between public and private, see how we can manage our data sets in more harmonization way. You see about this schedule, and then you don't not so much worrying about there's no gaps in the future. At this point in time, many satellites plan to launch, both optical, radar, and also the LiDAR is moving forward for the, until maybe 2030 and maybe a couple years beyond. So, and then after we launch a satellite, data is necessary. Data is needed to be more facilitated, more useful way, more facilitated in easy to use and easy to ingest your systems. This is really essential. So we see Space Agency is trying to do how we can make those data sets to be analysis-ready data, we call the ARD. So that is a really very important role, how we can harmonize and standardize our data sets in your use. And then based on that, we are currently very exciting to uptake our data sets into more biomass data sets, which is much more direct to use for your reporting to GHG inventories. So because we have an optical instrument, SAR instrument, and LiDAR instrument, we can integrate those data sets so that you can derive a biomass in more directly basis. That's why we are currently among the space agency, NASA, ESA, JAXA, and others to try to integrate both those multiple instruments to derive such a biomass information directly. So this is ongoing. This is still be improved. This is still elaborated. And then, but we are now trying to interact with IPCC emission factor database, see how our data set can be directly into their databases. And then we also, you might know about the silver carbon, and then we are, directly working with that, and then uptake our new data sets, existing data sets, old data sets, how your countries can use more your GHG inventory system. So this is ongoing effort. Thanks for USGS and silver carbon, and that is and the FAO as well through the CEPAO platform. That is really excitement, and I participated in a couple of events that was quite good. And then so we like to keep working on that. We need to maybe align about how CLP is more aligned on this our efforts. And then we also develop about the GST portal, Global Stocktake portal. This is existing data sets you can access not just only for the land use and land cover change, but also atmospheric CO2, CH4 emissions. That is experimental usage, but you might also see like to how the COC is developing such a level 2 or level 3 products. And finally, I'm just mentioned about we are really trying to comprehensive way because satellite data is sometimes very challenging to utilize directly. So that we need to keep up innovation for challenging how the satellite data can apply not just only for the land cover, land use, but also other land use, like a fire and disturbances and mangroves and wetlands. So we are trying to make a more comprehensive experiment utilizing for those products in the future. So this is our roadmap. So thanks. So please contact myself and my other colleagues, see if you are really interested about our satellite databases in more. So thanks so much.
This was Osamu Uchai. Thank you very much. No, excellent, excellent. An impressive presentation and so many things that are ongoing there. We don't have much time, but there can be questions asked. There can be questions asked on this last block of measurement, reporting, and verification for mitigation actions. Well, we have one question there in the back. Why don't we take that, please? And if you could also say who you are and who you're with, that would be nice.
Good day, all. My name is Gay Wagamoga. I'm from PNG. I would like to seek some clarification on the dashboard with Marieke and the team. The video shows some reports on a national level reporting and jurisdictional level reporting. I'm just wondering how this information are put together to have one report. Just seeking clarification on that. Thank you.
Thank you, GFOI, for your question. Alexandre, also, please.
Yes, Alexandre Avelino from Brazil. Marique, do you think that the FAO platform would be a nice beginning for preventing double counting in nesting schemes for REDD+? What are your views on that?
And one question over here, please.
Thank you very much, Marieke. This is Thomas Jambra from Ghana. I think you, in your presentation, the slide that talked about the confusion for countries, that there are so many ongoing. How is this going to help contribute to minimize that confusion? That scale is here, art is here, of course, FCPF window is closed, and the other ones. So how are they going to move through that minefield? Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. I think, Marieke, everyone is interested in hearing a bit more from you.
Thank you for those questions. So yeah, on the first one, so how the information is put together, well, that's exactly why this dashboard was born, because sometimes it's a bit of a treasure hunt, right, to find all this information, because, you know, with the World Bank, you have to click on each country and then download the reports, but there's not like one place where everything, well, in the past there's been a few dashboards, but then there's not updated or it doesn't show the volumes. So this is exactly why we've put the effort here to put things together. Also, the UNFCCC, there's a page where you can see all the BUR technical annex submissions, but then the BTRs on a different place. So yeah, all of this, we're trying to put things a little bit together. Then for Alexander, I didn't get that the data was preventing. Can you repeat the?
Preventing double counting from national level to jurisdictional and the little projects.
Okay, thanks. Yes, so that, I think, it doesn't really fit that purpose that much. I mean, for that purpose, there's the registries, right? So we're not competing with the registries. That's a different thing. Of course, also the UNFCCC has the info hub. So there's other complementary information. But I do invite you all to, I'm too close again to the microphone, just remembering what he said. We also really do encourage everybody to provide us feedback, because, you know, we're just testing this out. So if you like, oh, you know, I'd really like to see this other thing which we haven't covered, let us know. And I think in a bit of time we will probably have a look again and see how we can improve that. Then to get to Thomas's question, yeah. I'm not sure if we're helping with this complexity, because the complexity is there, and seeing how countries are reporting helps a bit. But of course, you know, you still have to navigate that complexity. So we at least hope, you know, that countries can learn from each other. We can see certain trends, and we also see some of these trends are really influenced also by some of the standard requirements. But yeah, it helps maybe a little bit, but you'll still have to navigate that. So we still don't give the full picture. It's just the country reporting part that is displayed here. Thank you.
All right, let's very quickly hear what's ahead of us on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we will conclude this panel. To do that, maybe please bring up the last slide that we have, Francesco, if you were able to do that. And then we can, yes, I think it's that one, thank you. Yeah, it's a bit garbled.
Yeah, all the slides are anyways, we said there was chaos and complexity, right? So we're just adding to that. Anyways, yeah, so for the MRV sections, we have 3 days. So the first day is going to be a bit of a die-hard day. So if you've gone through the first day and you're really scared, you know, don't go away. That's the hardest day. After that, everything will be easier. So the first day, it's all about uncertainty. It's a mix of, you know, hands-on exercises and hearing about like requirements from different carbon standards and country experiences. And basically that's what we'll see all 3 days. So the second day is about area estimation, and we're really going to look at like, okay, cutting edge approaches to area estimation. And the last day is about removals, removal accounting. So again, like the requirements in carbon standards are quite different, which can create very particular situations, and we're helping countries here a little bit to reflect on, okay, how can you be strategic, and in certain contexts, you know, certain standards might really not work at all. So it's really a mix of exchanging between countries, hands-on, we're really technical, and again, don't get scared by the first day. After that, things will hopefully get easier.
And that does sound promising. Small applause for this third block. All right, that gets us to the end of this overview panel. It has been a bit crowded, I know, but that's not our fault. That's simply because forest monitoring is so dynamic these days. Yeah, and instead of doing long summary, I have come up with mottos for the 3 blocks. Yeah, the first block, that was on transparent commodities. I gave it the motto for myself: discuss, plan, ask, answer, and analyze. I think that is something I saw, or something very similar that I saw on one of the slides that Remy has shown. That was very good. The second block, that was on the country-led planning process of the Global Forest Observations Initiative. I have given it the little motto: connect and reflect. Because I think indeed that is the title of the event that the GFOI is using. And for Marike's third block, my motto simply is: a lot has happened. And a lot more to happen this week. Thank you very much for everyone for your attention, and thank you much to all of the speakers that are with me here on this panel. All right, logistics. The most important event of the day is about to start, which is lunch. And that's going to happen in a minute. The lunch is simply at the FAO cafeteria. Now, the way to find that is simply to ask anyone who is FAO staff where the FAO cafeteria is. But what it comes down to is that you got to walk down to the ground floor, you got to cross the big hall, and then you take any elevator that gets you up to the eighth floor, okay? Go down, cross the big hall, take an elevator to go up to the 8th floor, and you will probably get lost, but you know, no need to be ashamed. Just ask our FAO colleagues. This is a maze, this building, yeah? Another important logistics announcement is that DSA collection can be done now, during the next 2 hours. Who can explain how DSA connection works? Is that something that maybe Fiona or Hislani can quickly say, how to get the DSA, where we have to go and all that?
Yes, so it will start from 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the cashier window on D202, but you can ask and we can try and direct you if you need.
D202 cashier. Take note of that. If you are eligible for DSA, and you know that by the invitation letter, if your invitation letter says you're eligible for the DSA, I'm not, unfortunately. But if you are, then you can go there. D202, this is where you can get that, and it's between 2 and 3, I think, is what Fiona said. That's on the 2nd floor in the D building. D202. Huh? Marble stairs, that's also a good hint. Look for the marble stairs. All right, please be back here at 3 p.m. At 3 p.m. we continue the session. Until then, I wish everyone a very nice lunch ahead. Looking forward to seeing you back again in a few minutes. Thank you.